So I read Holy Feast and Holy Fast, the religious significance of food to medieval women. And so the purpose of this book is to kind of explore the implications of food-related practices and food images in the piety of medieval women. The author argues that medieval efforts to discipline and manipulate the body should be interpreted more as elaborate changes relying upon the possibilities provided by the flesh. So she is very explicit in refuting the idea that these are women that have internalized misogyny or are seeking acts of masochism, are masochists. Anyways, so to contextualize this, we have to think about the time period and what women have access to in regards of achieving piety. Women have limited options. Women can be nuns, and they can look in different spaces, but really religious roles were restricted to higher aristocracy. But overall, the role of women has always been very limited compared to men, and the one thing that women can control is their body, especially as women in this time period are socialized to be the providers of food. This is something that they can quite literally control. They could renounce themselves, they could renounce the environment, and there's this really special dynamic, perspective in the way that these women saw food, because the women saw food as the flesh through the Eucharist. So they believed that when they were taking the Eucharist or when they were taking food, it was literally flesh. And so when they renounce that, they are seeking suffering. And so that is a very powerful symbol as food becomes God. And not only that, in achieving piety, women have done other things. Women upheld abstinence, but they took it further. They took just the things that they renounced further. They would go years without eating. Some women would only take the Eucharist. Some women would only take water with spices or water or wine. Some believed that they were fed in visions by Jesus himself and Mary. But basically, at the gist of it is they are becoming Christ-like as they engage in suffering for others. They abstained in food in order to feed others. And also they fed others with their bodies, as women abstain from taking food, or when women practiced the Eucharist only, or uptook the sacrament of the Eucharist only, women, a common theme was that women would protrude milk or oil from their breasts, and that would be used as a healing salve just as much as their saliva would be used. These women also ate and drank the suffering of others by putting their mouths on people's sores. These women self-flagellated. They self-starved themselves, and they experienced acute illness. A lot of these women were sick and never got help because they did not want to be fed, or they didn't want resources used on them. And so they quite literally became the body. They found themselves, or they believed that they were becoming the body of the Savior. They were sacrificing themselves in their body just as the way that Jesus did. But besides the way that they used food, and specifically in renouncing it, they were able to feed others, as food was something that women have access to in their attributed roles and attributed expectations. as they're the ones that stay in the house and have the control over the food. Through the protruding liquids of their body, they were able to heal others. Some even had like roles after death. There's an example that there's a woman and there's a vision, and this woman is able to provide communion after death, and so she takes up that lay role of providing an important aspect of Christianity. And so basically in starving and in acute illness, they were engaging in extensions of Christ's sufferings, and it was considered to be redemptive suffering, as not only were they saving themselves, but they were saving other people. They believed that they were saving souls in purgatory. They were there in their hagiographies. They are reflected to have provided miracles through the ways that they self-sacrificed, and overall, like, they did physically give to the poor. And so that's the way that women use food. Like, they had a very limited space of what they could do, and so they use their body, they use their access to food, and so a lot of the times they would limit themselves, they would self-starve. They would be fed by the body and the blood of Christ alone, or they would be fed by God and through visions, and through practicing that, women achieved piety and holiness, and they were able to heal others, and they were able to like seek redemption for others, and they were able to provide for others, and